Good evening, and welcome to the 597th regular meeting of the City of Laurel Planning Commission. If you wish to be heard at this meeting, please sign the speaker list provided on the table at the side of the chamber. However, I will pause and ask if anyone would like to speak. I believe the sign sheet has been taken, so I'll have the applicant speak, and then I will see if anyone else would like to speak. The chair reserves the right to limit the amount of time each speaker has for each agenda item. With that, Ms. Quillen, if you would please call the roll.
Councilmember Sidnor, Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Kish, Mr. Welford,
Here.
Ms. Bonner, Chairwoman Bettman.
Here.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 2, the approval of minutes from the December 13 meeting, December 13, 2022. Are there any questions for staff?
No.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the minutes from the December 13 meeting. I'll second.
Thank you. Ms. Quillen, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Welford,
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 3, the Concept MXT Site Plan Application number 935 for 6820 Contee Road, Pulte Home Company LLC for recommendation to the Mayor and City Council. Mr. Burrow.
Good evening, Madam Chair, and Happy New Year to you and the fellow council members. This is Monte Burrow, Deputy Director of Economic and Community Development. Before you is MXT Concept Site Plan Application number 935. The applicant proposes a concept plan to develop 302 residential units at the properties known as 6820, 6900, 6902, 6920 Contee Road, and 15203 Pirate Lane, Laurel, Maryland 20707. The applicant is seeking MXT site plan approval to develop 302 units, which will include open space, community center with a pool, playground area, sitting area, sidewalk, and trail system. The total number of land to develop is approximately 28.24 plus acres. The applicant proposes to construct 144 stacked townhome condominium units, 2-family, 14 active adult villa homes, and 144 single-family attached townhome, inclusive of 12 live-work units. The project will allocate a number of homes for sale as affordable and workforce. The applicant will be required to obtain plat and consolidation approval, forest conservation plan approval, preliminary subdivision plan approval, and final MXT concept plan approval from the Planning Commission. The applicant is here for a presentation and for any questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Excuse me. Are there any questions for staff prior to hearing from the applicant? Nope. I would like to at this time invite the applicant to speak, and if you would state your name and address for the record, welcome.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Edward Gibbs, an attorney with offices in Largo, Maryland, and I'm pleased to be here this evening. Nice to be in front of you again, and I am representing the applicant in this conceptual site plan case, and the applicant, of course, is Pulte Home Company, which is an entity controlled by the Pulte Group. I would like to introduce those of our team who are here this evening. Mr. David DeMarco, who is the Vice President in charge of land acquisition for the entire Mid-Atlantic region. He has been at the council work session and at the public hearing before the council last evening. He has a medical issue and has some tests that are being conducted right now, and he regrets that he can't be here. However, in his absence, we have two representatives from Pulte, Chris Barr and Bob Varner, from right to left, seated in the third row. In addition, we have Joe Calogero, who is from the traffic group, and the traffic is really not a germane issue at the conceptual site site plan stage. It becomes an issue of much greater significance during the preliminary subdivision plan, but I did want him to be here with us. And then behind him is Mr. Ken Dunn of Soltez, who is our civil engineer. So that's kind of our team, the folks that we have with us this evening. If we could just go to the second page, we did have a, there we go. It's pretty hard to read, but essentially my client, Pulte, they are headquartered in Atlanta. They're a residential home builder, and they have been constructing homes in the United States since 1950. To date, they've constructed over 755,000 homes. They've delivered to residents throughout the United States. And they sort of cover the entire waterfront relative to the types of offerings. I mean, they have luxury homes, they have adult over 55, they have affordable, they have workforce. They try to produce communities that can reach the entire income strata of purchasers. All of their units in this community will be for sale, fee simple units, no rental units whatsoever. They have 3 projects that are ongoing as we speak here in Maryland. They have a community called Watershed, which has a Laurel address, but it's just over the line in Anne Arundel County. It's quite a nice community, and what you see there is very typical of what you'll see in this community. Highly aesthetically pleasing architecture in those units, and very sensitive treatment to the environment, in particular the bioretention facilities that will accommodate stormwater management on site. They also have a project called the Flats at National Harbor. That's a condominium project. And then they have another project called within Crown Farm, Gatesburg in Montgomery County. So they're, I can't tell you how excited they are at the prospect of being able to develop a community of this nature within the limits of the city of Laurel. Very happy and very excited to be here, and looking forward to the opportunity. If we could turn over to, we can skip the project team and turn over just to the aerial photo, which, there we go, right? Okay, so the property that we're dealing with is outlined in gold with a gold star in the middle, sort of triangular in shape. And it's really 5 different parcels. And when you total it all together, it comes to 28.24 acres. And as you can see, it's somewhat isolated relative to other development that has occurred, at least at suburban densities. It is bounded on the west and the northwest and the north by really the off-ramp of 198 from I-95. And then there are 2 rather flat dimensions. The southern dimension that you see there runs along Contee Road, and then the east edge of the property just goes up Contee up to the 198 off ramp. So that's pretty much where we are relative to the city and the road network. Cherry Lane runs along the bottom, and of course Van Dusen Road runs across the top and to the east. There are some fairly dense residential neighborhoods in the southern and eastern portion of that aerial photography that you see up on the board. Overwhelming nature is residential of the development. There is a church which is located just southeast of our property, and there's yet another church on the south side of Cherry Lane. But the large church school, the Baptist Church School, is directly northeast or southeast. Excuse me. So I'd like to go over to the conceptual site plan, if we could. This was the original plan we started with after we had meetings with city staff, and we decided to cut that back. And so the real conceptual site plan that we have, next sheet, 300. So basically, if you look at the bottom of the conceptual site plan, what you'll see is that's Contee Road running along the southern boundary. Contee Road is a 60-foot wide right-of-way county road. Intersecting Contee Road at a 90-degree angle, you'll see a stem road going down from the south there, and that is Pirate Lane. And Pirate Lane shows on record plats, it's not built to that specification the entire way, but it shows as a 50-foot right on the plats, the most recent plat that I could find recorded in the land record. And so basically, our access proposal is to come in via Contee Road. And of course, during the preliminary subdivision plan stage, you know, we will scope a traffic study with your Department of Public Works. We will study all of the identified critical intersections. We will analyze what the existing level of service is. We will add in any trips that will be generated by this project. And as a result of all that, we'll go through a process and we will come out at the end and there will be determination as to what type of road improvements will need to be made. Contee Road needs to be widened, will be Axel decel lanes coming in at Pirate Lane, etc. But our access is proposed to come from Contee Road via an extension of Pirate Lane coming up into the project. It is not our intent to be using Pirate Road from a point farther south. That is not our intent.
I apologize. I very seldom interrupt a presentation, but traffic's something I will want to talk about.
Yeah.
Are you proposing what you're saying about the Contee Road to Pirate? Mm-hmm. Are you talking about for the construction?
No, for the access into the community. Yeah. Yeah.
So people wouldn't be able to turn right on off of Cherry Lane onto Pirate to get to your community?
Well, first of all, that
I know that's farther down the
that
road.
is way farther down the road. Those types of issues can be controlled,
Okay.
via conditions that are attached to the preliminary plan.
Okay.
Which would involve, you can put dividers in roads that make it impossible to make a turn. You can have signage and things of that nature.
Okay.
We understand how substandard Pirate is from Cherry Lane running up to Contee Road.
I just wanted to clarify whether what you were talking about now was just in terms of like the construction, traffic coming in and out or what.
No,
Okay. Let me let you finish your presentation. And
Ultimate
again, I'll
access
try
would be
and
from
I'll
Contee.
stay focused again on concept, but want to raise some of my issues of traffic as we go forward.
Yeah, I understand entirely. But I'll just briefly take you through the conceptual site plan that we filed. So as you'll come into the entrance there, we have a range of different residential offerings. So of the 302 units, as you come in, the dark shaded brown unit along our southern boundary and along the western entrance there. So those are traditional townhouse units. They're 20 feet wide by 40 feet, those lots. And then as you come in, you will see on the right-hand side of the entrance road two sticks of units that are like, I would say, salmon colored or pink. Those are a very special component of this development. They will be live-work units. Pulte, as well as many other developers, and I've just finished another subdivision down in Prince George's County where we had live-work units in with townhomes. And it's been a growing phenomenon with folks wanting to be able to work in their home, not have to travel out to the office. The demand for these types of units has grown dramatically with the impact of the COVID pandemic, with many offices being closed. And so Pulte, as other developers, finding a rising demand for those types of units. So those are 12 live-work units. There will be about 625 square feet dedicated workspace on the first level. They will have their separate entrance into that area. It's not the typical home office. Somebody walk down the stairs and walk into a room. It is a segregated area within the unit with its own entrance. And there may be a vestibule inside where you would go left to go into the office and go right to go into the residential component. The residential living space is on floors 2 and 3, and each of these units will have an attic space, has potential with option for a fourth floor space. So, but guaranteed, all living occurs floors 2 and 3. Workspace, garage is on the ground level. Most of these units, I think all 12 in this community would be rear entry, where the garage is in the back of the unit. And deeper into, and I'm not going to go through every picture that we have in this handout here, but if you have a chance at your leisure to look at it, be able to see the elevation, typical live-work unit that Pulte passed. And to the outward appearance, they just look like town. But they do have this special element to them. So there are 12 of those. The light shaded townhomes that you see farther on the left on the drive-in road, then in the center, and then in the upper right-hand corner of the community, those are 16-foot wide townhomes. And there are, I think, 134 townhomes. Again, designed to have lower threshold purchase price to make them accessible to younger people. So we have those, and then over on the far right side of the community, you'll see those yellowish, goldish shaded units. Those are the active adult villas, 55 and over, and the main bedroom with bath enclosed. That's on the first floor of those units to make them attractive to the 55 and older residents. Then the balance of the units are, 20 feet, 22 feet width, standard count. There will be in the community, the city doesn't have an ordinance for fee simple sales to be affordable and work. It's mostly rentals. Pulte has committed and has made a commitment to the council as well, and it's in our application. There will be 11 affordable units for sale and 11 work made available for sale. With price points we have price points that are available today. Obviously, delivery units for a couple of years out, so the number not necessarily concrete as to what it will be, but they're substantially below what the market is for those units. So, that's kind of the conceptual site plan that we have. I think that I want to talk a little bit about the fact that when you first come in, as soon as you pass that first row of townhouses on the left, that's our recreation area. We're going to have a community building that's going to be totally fitted out with amenities that you would expect in a community building. Next to that, a little blue area is our community pool. And there's a playground to the left of that for the younger kid. In addition to an extensive sidewalk system with sidewalks abutting all of the internal roads, we're going to have an internal trail system within the community as well, meandering through the entire community. Those amenity items will be shown obviously in detail in the detailed site once that. So that's pretty much where we are. We did an extensive analysis in our justification statement. We addressed all of the criteria, city's ordinance, approval of a conceptual site plan. All of the uses being proposed here are expressly permitted of right in the city's use table for the MXD zone. And the density being proposed is well below what the maximum density in the MXD is, 8 point FAR, and I think down at 0.3. So I think I know we're just well below the density that's permitted. So with that being said, at this point, I'm happy to sort of be quiet for a minute for any questions that you may have, and course, all the folks on my team who are here are willing and able to answer any questions that I'm not able.
Okay. For those from the public that are here, we'll ask some questions of staff and the applicant, and then I will ask if there's anyone else willing to speak. So while we're having this discussion, don't think I've forgotten to see if anybody else wants to speak. Mr. Wilson or Mr. Welford, do you have any questions for staff or Mr. Gibbs or any of theirs?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Oh, good, I've got lots.
The stream crossings, I guess there's 3.
Right.
And are those going to be just the normal, or at least the intent is just it's the normal tile? I mean, I didn't know how big those creeks are back there. Is my question.
Well, again, that's sort of a.
I know it's in the
down
future. I just
road.
was what's in.
But as you can see, Soltez has sensitively designed the community so that we do have those environmental features up in the northern end, and the impacts are been designed to be as minimal as absolutely possible with those road crossings. I don't know that an ultimate design has been achieved at this point.
The reason I'm asking, Mr. Gibbs, is that Laurel Lakes is downstream of that. And one of the big issues was in some of those early environmental studies is a lot of the silting was coming out of, not in this property, but I think upstream even, running off of 95. So it's going to be an issue to make sure that that doesn't contribute any more to the silting.
No, I agree and understand. And I don't know whether you've had a chance to go out to Watershed, but I would invite you to. And you'll, if you, the one thing that you see when you go out there is how sensitive they have treated everything environmental, and particularly with stormwater management. And it's pretty nice. So, and of course, not only do they do it nicely, but our obligation before we can get our stormwater plan approved, we cannot allow water to discharge from the property at a greater rate after development than it does today in pre-development stage. And I know you know that.
I understand. It was just one of those things. I saw 3 crossings.
Dunn has anything else you want to add to that? But
Actually covered it pretty well. Off your job.
The other question I have is relative to the work, live work. That's a new concept to me. Is that defined anywhere, or is it just what every developer wants to?
it actually is not defined in your ordinance. It's not defined in Prince George's County zoning ordinance as well. But it's a fairly well-known concept these days.
So my question, and I don't know that it impacts tonight's discussion or vote on concept, but I would ask staff, to please investigate this in terms of residential development. We've got parking issues.
Well, that's
Are they
my
going to have
question is,
commercial?
what's the
Are they going to
parking-
have
what's
commercial
parking rules gonna be?
licenses and occupancies? And are we going to have doctor's office on the first floor or dentist or, because you're going to have residents that are living. And then in my mind, I was thinking of, to your point, like just working at home and having an office. But as you talk about maybe opening for business and having people come in and out, I do think the city should make sure that we have some type of either ordinance or rules that will govern this so that when this opens, that the people that buy into this aren't surprised if they bought this specific one, and those that buy a different piece of property in there aren't surprised that they're next door to someone.
As an example, if a dentist's office went in there, right, that would just drive me crazy if I lived next door. So, there's got to be some controls on parking and things like that.
And we would have controls on that. What we would be looking at is we are kind of looking more office and service businesses, those sort of things. There is language to how much parking you can have when residential within a commercial, and then we'd also be looking at the uses and look at the parking
So
for
this
that
doesn't
also.
change, though, Mr. Levy, this doesn't change the zoning, right? So this won't be commercially zoned, will it?
No, MXT incorporates all of those elements.
All
within
in
it.
there,
Yes,
right.
correct. So if it's an allowed use, say like there's offices, so forth, that are allowed at MXT, that'll be allowed
Yeah,
within.
because I
it.
think that the key here is that this isn't, a home office. This is
That's where.
If you're an insurance agent and you want
yeah.
to do this and work out of your house, then you would do that.
And that was our thought, and I believe even with their design of why it's over to the far, this is right when you drive in. These are the ones you'd go to, so it's kind
Or
of
heaven
away
forbid
from.
a law office. That'd be worse than dentist.
Sorry for interrupting, but that was one
Actually,
of
I'll
my
just tell you
questions.
though, Mr. Wilson, that I probably, even pre-COVID, we probably have clients in our office maybe 3 or 4
Yeah,
times a year.
I get it.
You know,
Yeah.
just everybody calls these
Right,
days.
right.
But let me just say this: we get that, and that is clearly, an appropriate issue to be looked at as we go down the road. I will say those units are all 24 feet wide, so technically they have 2 parking spaces in the double garage and 2 parking spaces on the apron. And then I am certain that as we go, there's a desire to make sure that there's
Yeah,
enough.
I'm not opposed. I think
yeah.
it's an intriguing concept, and
Right.
get more people off the roads, and you won't have to fight your way from Largo. So,
Yeah, indeed.
so thank you very much.
My
Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Okay, a couple of, and some of these may not be known until we get farther into design. On the east side, will there be a tree buffer between the First Baptist Church or are you butting right up against the property? In the one, it looks, I know the property line goes up, but right now they're pretty much surrounded by trees. Are they all going away?
Well, I mean, obviously, we're going to have to meet setbacks and landscape buffers that are in your code.
Okay.
So we have to do that, certain. But that being said, and being candid, I mean, those villas are pretty close up against.
That's what I was wondering. And so I would want to make sure that, the First Baptist Church and all is aware of that. And so if they have input or anything as we get closer to design, coming in Contee. Okay. I would like to get on the record specifically, I mean, partly for you, partly for the city and for everyone else. I live right off of Cherry Lane in Van Dusen.
Okay.
The current traffic to get from the intersection of Cherry Lane onto Van Dusen and up to 198. So here it is. So if you're going north from the green arrow up to the intersection at 198 there, when you're turning or whichever way you're coming, you've got 1 lane going up all the way until you pass North Arbery, and then you go to 4 lanes as you're approaching.
Right.
Coming in, if you start at the orange lane, and let's say we were leaving this building here, and you go up and you make the left, there have been times that when the light turns green to go straight on Van Dusen, I cannot go straight because my car would be blocking 198, not knowing whether that traffic, because you're coming from 3 lanes to 1, and then it's only 1 lane past North Arbery, 1 lane past South Arbery, and it doesn't open up. I can't see how another 5 houses can go with everything. And again, our development was part of what has led to that. So I would just like, as you're looking at the traffic, and as the city historically had plans to make that dual lane in and out many, many years ago. I do not recall all of what that was, but it is a major, major concern. We have the fire department right there at the intersection of Cherry and Van Dusen on the south side here, opposite that. And sometimes it's impossible for us to get over to allow them in coming to the hospital or out trying to get out to 198. So I say it both to you and to the city that I think the development looks beautiful. I appreciate the design. I appreciate all of that. I don't know what improvements you're making to Contee, but anybody doing business from that development coming into the city or going north on 95, that's going to be their route, and it's big.
Right.
So I always recognize where we are in the point of discussion, and tonight, for everyone here, tonight is a concept discussion. This is not tonight if the panel chooses to vote for this, this does not mean that these houses are being built next week or anything. There are many, many, many stages and steps to this. Traffic at this point is not one of those, but I clearly wanted to let you know that as you do that study, look at that. And I've asked the city to kind of research what they have, because it's a real bottleneck already. And adding 300 is bigger.
Yeah, I hear you, and believe me, I've driven those roads many times myself, and I know the configurations. I was thinking about them when you were talking about them, so I get it.
So I just raised that this evening to put that there. Mr. Welford, any questions for Mr. Gibbs
I
or
just
staff?
shared the same concerns already spoken about the new live-work concept. It's brand new to me also. It's the first time I've ever heard of it. When I read the presentation. But my concern about it would be that if this is a new thing for the city that's going to be done with no other zoning changes or anything like that, that, you know, these aren't going to be the only 6 units in all of Laurel that's under that work live, and I'm sure other people are going to want to do the same thing in other communities. And how strict is it going to be? I wouldn't want it to see it come all the way across town, maybe like over into the historic district where a single family old house tenant might say, well, we want to work out of our house too, you know, and it's done there. Why can't it be done all across the city? You know, I would like to see some restrictions put on that that are pretty tight, so that doesn't become something everywhere. I can see it's a needed concept with the way people work from home now, but I would want it to be. I just know that that's not going to be the only place in town that's going to grow.
Right. Well, one thing.
Oh, sorry.
Let's let Rob, I think
let
he's
Rob.
asking more the city to make sure we've got the controls.
And what we would do, Mr. Welford, is there are certain restrictions already in the code. What was unique just about this zone is that it's kind of a mixed-use zone. So a typical residential unit, now there are people who can get home occupations, but they're very strict on what you can do there, whether you can have people, what you signage, all that. So if it's in a plain residential zone, it probably won't. You were talking about historic side, unless it's in that CV zone, which obviously there's a number of things on Main Street that are, you know, apartments up top with the businesses on the bottom. But typically in a residential zone, you're not a straight residential zone. You're not going to get something like that.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I mean, in a way, it's similar to C Street flats in the sense that you've got businesses on the bottom floor. It's just not that the same person lives above them. But if we can make sure that within this context, we can make sure the language somehow carries that, you know, to Billy's point, it's kind of taken care of. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Nope. Mr. Gibbs, thank you. I will see if we have questions for the public and if there's anything for you to come back. Is there any, I'm sorry. First, let me start with well, I think maybe that was for the agenda item. Is Wendy Koch? Welcome. Yeah, we both were thinking that you had written Pulte. We were thinking you were from Pulte. So, welcome. If you would please come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Wendy Koch, 6936 Contee Road, Laurel. I have 2 questions. I live across the street, and I understand that the part we're talking about is unannexed, and my house is unannexed.
Correct.
So if this became annexed, does that mean the whole area would become annexed?
No. What is being brought before us as a planning commission tonight is already City of Laurel community. There is nothing. I was going to say, but please clarify for me. I was going to say, nothing comes before this body unless it is already in the City of Laurel. So it will not impact anything that is non-City of Laurel.
Is that recent? All the way out to the Zooks? Is that recent that it's annexed?
Oh, no, it's this property. Do you know how long it's been in the city limits, Mr. Gibbs? I was thinking it was,
More than that.
Okay, so it's just the opposite side on Contee
It's-
Road that's not in it.
if you want to give Brooke your. Yeah, and if you would like a clearer, Brooke, someone in the city can get you a map of the city. You know, it's easy to think that it's a rectangle, but it's not. For example, the townhomes across the street right here are not within the city limits of Laurel, and Westgate Apartments, which are right in the middle of the city, are not. So there are pockets the city does not neatly go around, but the business that is in front of us tonight and everything that you've seen up here is solely within the city limits.
Well, that's odd. I did not know.
Okay, well, thank you. You said you had 2 questions. That was one.
So we have this little tribe of deer, like 7 to 10, that travel around at 2 o'clock in the morning. And if another development comes in, I mean, that's just going to bring all that wildlife. I don't even try to garden anymore. No flowers, no trees, nothing. I mean, is there any plan to manage something like that?
I do not know. I will put we can put that in the idea. I live across the street. I live on the same side, I guess, that you do over on Wellington that backs up to the creek. And when you said 7, I was thinking we've got about 27 back there in that little area. And so it is an issue. It is pretty much an issue everywhere. It absolutely does
Between that
crowd.
and the fox.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
I'm not opposed to that. I'm not even opposed to this development. I'm not opposed to being annexed. I just want to know what's going to happen.
Thank you. We notify everyone that is within the city limit in adjacent. Brooke, is it possible to add some names that you could include in terms of notification going forward, just in terms of meetings and things like that? You can always keep an eye on those signs. Again, this is very early in the process. If you would like to give your name and address to Ms. Quellen, she can add, here's the business card. We'll have you added to that list if that's okay, and just have the information sent to you, because we do want everybody to be informed, and everyone's welcome to comment.
Can I ask one more question?
Certainly.
I would like to know if there's any plans to come across the street.
You know what? Maybe Mr. Wilson can answer the question of annexation. Is it somebody else request? I don't think the city doesn't.
I mean, building.
Oh, but if you're not within the city limits, we would have no.
It would
So
be
this would be a
down in
county matter.
down in Upper Marlboro.
That would be, okay.
That's
a
correct.
county matter.
Yeah. And any annexation plan, if there was one, they would have to notify
Right.
every resident, because you get to vote on it.
Right.
So
Okay.
Okay.
So I know my police comes from Greenbelt or Beltsville. Does the fire department also come from Beltsville?
No.
Comes from Cherry Lane.
The fire departments are
County.
within the city limits, but they are county, the employees that staff, the paid firefighters are county employees, volunteers, but they service a geographic area. That's not Gulf.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming out. I do not have anyone else signed up to speak. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Please, if you would state your name and address for the record.
She lived right next door, so I used to.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. My name is Sarah Sinclair. I live at 6825 Contee Road in Laurel. My sister-in-law had written typed up an email. She lives at 7202 Cherry Lane. It says, hello, as above, we are unaware of these plans until the posting of the public meeting sign on Cherry Lane that we noticed just recently. We have several We have several questions as the above and the usage of Pirate Lane and Contee Road, which are not wide enough for 2 lanes, and they are not well maintained. This area is quite rural, and these 2 roads and our 2 properties are located in the county of Prince George's. Both roads are what we use to access our 2 properties, which are located 6823 Contee Road and my property 6825 Contee Road, and is also adjacent to 6820 Contee Road. The owners, myself, and my brother, who is the personal representative of 6823, William J. Carr. See 4 pictures attached showing the location of our driveway and 6820 Contee Road. We did watch the City of Laurel Planning Commission meeting broadcasted yesterday, and another one is planned for this evening, 6 p.m. We would like to know how we can obtain more information on this as soon as possible, because it does affect, out of the whole community, my property and the property that sits right next to ours.
Thank you. And we did receive that. I was going to also read that for there. So the reason you would not have received, or she would not have received the information is what I stated before to Ms. Kalk. The requirement is to send to adjacent properties within the city. If you would like to provide your name and address and her name and address, we will add you to this. They're welcome to contact they'll give you a business card to find out additional information and to stay involved in the process. Again, this is a long process. We try not to make it longer than necessary, and public input is an important part of that. So you're welcome to stay involved, keep an eye on the signs and things like that.
Absolutely. Another question that I had is, with the construction that will be going on, myself and the other occupant, that whomever may occupy 6823, will we be inconvenienced in any sort of way with our way of life, getting out of our driveway, coming back in our driveway, etc.?
We're not at that point yet, but I would say no. I would believe Mr. Gibbs could probably confirm that when any construction is happening, ingress and egress to private property is not. I mean, a lot of trucks going by, right, for sure, and right, things like that, but that at no time should your property be inaccessible. Is that correct? Okay.
Okay. Because it is a 1-lane road going in and coming out.
Well, that's what stay tuned, because again, the road issue, they can't get their trucks in the way it is now. They will be coming back to explain to us how this is all going to be working. Okay, tonight is the concept coming to us saying this in the end is what we would like, and we go through lots of different things that they'll be coming back with. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, sir. If you would please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Sean Conover, I live at 7000 Contee Road. I guess 2 questions. I know this is the concept phase and traffic has been mentioned multiple times this evening. Is there any sort of coordination that goes on between the city of Laurel and the county?
Absolutely. Mr. Gibbs or Mr. Burrow, do you want to handle that, how we work? Because not all roads are city roads. Some are county roads, state roads, and things like that. But
thank you. To answer your question, is we do coordinate. Anytime we have a major project, we first send out any reports or any feedback from the various county agencies, state highway, WSSC, those like agencies. So whenever a big project comes, they're notified first before it even goes out.
yes, so at each stage, and if you keep checking the city website, as different reports are made available and all of this goes online, you would be able to read comments from the county, comments from WSSC, comments from even the city agencies provide comments, like our Department of Public Works has already provided a list of questions that they have for this also.
Okay.
Okay?
Because I live on that small stretch of Contee that is not the city of Laurel. And, with you can't see it on this map here, but the new Ryan Homes development with 150 townhouses,
That's right.
that has just added so much traffic already to Contee, and it's, no shoulders, no sidewalks.
Yeah.
I fear that adding 300 homes, possibly 600 cars, is going to create more issues besides, Van Dusen and
Yeah.
Cherry Lane.
And I appreciate you saying that because, again, we all speak from experience. So my experience is this stretch right here, but you raise another great point because the Ryan Homes and up at Contee that has gone in and all of that. So one of their next steps is to be looking at the traffic and all of that and the roads. Because, again, they don't want to build a beautiful development and have nobody buy there because they can't drive into there to even look at the property.
Right.
So it's also in their best interest, and they will work to make sure that they're building a community that people can get in and out of. Okay?
Last question. There is I guess at the northwestern part of the property, there's a cell tower. Is there any plan to remove that cell tower? No plan.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Before I close this, is there anyone else wishing to speak? And again, thank you for coming, and please stay involved in this as we progress. Mr. Gibbs, is there anything else you need to say? No.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Other than that, to address these folks who testified, and we'll certainly work with you as we go forward to the next phase. And understand, actually, where I live, I have people doing renovations both sides of me, and I well know. So we'll work with you to make sure that you're process. Now that we know who you are and where you are, we will.
Thank you. If there are no further questions for staff, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move to recommend for approval the concept MXT site plan, 6820 Contee Road, from the applicant with all of the staff report included.
I'll second Rick's motion.
Thank you. Ms. Quillen, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Welford,
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much.
Just
Go
one
ahead.
comment. I think, as we help shape the traffic study in the next ones, I think the public safety impact with the hospital and the fire department, somehow, I don't know what the rules are on how broad you can make that traffic study, but that certainly is going to be a piece of it.
I didn't want to go because he's the president. I want to acknowledge that he's here.
Yeah, and then I don't know, you guys are new relatively compared to me, but I think there was actually money put aside for Van Dusen years ago. I'm sure it's not there, but 25 years ago there were plans to redo. I don't even know if we have the right of way on Van Dusen. I don't think it would be these folks' problem, but maybe in cooperation with the city. And is Van Dusen a city? It's a city road, right? Van Dusen is city road.
Van Dusen's a city road up until, I believe, Contee, and then going towards Contee, then it's not a city road.
Okay.
actually is.
So, I think that's something to put in the hopper to think about for the council. And I wanted to make sure in the notes that we say that maybe this is time to revisit Van
Excuse me.
Dusen.
Thank you.
That's all. I just want to put a bug in your ear for that. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. You're welcome to stay or you're welcome to go. I would like to acknowledge and thank our council president, Brentsa Smith, for attending tonight's planning commission meeting. And if you had wanted to speak, I'm sorry that, okay. But thank you very much for being here. It's good to see you. Moving on to agenda item 4, the election of chairman for the City of Laurel Planning Commission.
I would like to move to nominate our existing chair, and she's been doing a fine job. How many years have you been chair?
I was just going to say, I think it's been 8, maybe. Has
Is
it
it
been
8?
that long? Because I've been retired for 7 years, and I think, or it might have been right after I retired, so it could be 6 or 7.
Okay.
So-
Well, I'd like to nominate our current chair.
I'll second.
Thank you both. If elected, I will serve. Ms. Quillen, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Welford?
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Agenda item 5, election of the vice chair.
I would like to nominate Mr. John Kish as the vice chair. I think Mr. Kish is probably watching. He's a bit under the weather today, but I believe that he will accept the appointment.
I'll also second that motion.
Ms. Quillen, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Welford?
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And thank you all for all of your support. Thanks Laurel TV for helping us with our Zoom meetings or our in-person meetings, and the council for all of your support. Happy New Year to everyone in the city, and we look forward to your continued involvement as we go forward this year. This meeting is adjourned.